Hello everybody, today I am going to show you why barbarians go rage from Dead and Alive, Barbarian Clash Story Barbarians. Well, let's watch it. Dead or Alive.
In today's story, we are going to be finishing the Barbarian King story as well as follow Barbar's journey and see what his destiny really is. Along the way, answering some of the unexplained events that happen within Clash of Clans. You can watch the first episode here as well as some of the other stories here.
Last episode.
Barbar and Ian set off on an adventure in a balloon that they stole, where they landed on a mysterious island. On the island was a black liquid, later found to be dark elixir. Ian drank a lot of it, and Barbar only had a sip. On the way back, they were struck by lightning, and Barbar crashed into the ocean, needing 500 likes to afford a heal spell, and Ian went on to become the Barbarian King. You can watch the full story for yourself on our channel. Right after Barbar fell into the water, he slowly began sinking to the bottom of the ocean. But as he sank closer and closer towards the bottom, a heal spell dropped out of nowhere. Then another, and another. There must have been at least 35 heal spells sent from villages all around the world. Heal spell after heal spell started falling all around him. The heal spells combined to heal all of his wounds. He could now also hold his breath for an incredibly long time. Either that or he always could hold it for that long. Feeling extremely grateful, Barbar was determined to not waste his second chance. Although he did have a very long and important road ahead of him, Barbar was destined to be something much greater. Barbar's story was just getting started. As he regained his strength on the ocean's floor, he realized that he had dropped his sword when he was shocked by the lightning and fell from the balloon. So without his sword, he started heading towards the nearest land, which just so happened to be the one next to the one that he came from. Except it was the island right next to it. When he reached the island, he met an older looking fellow who called himself Jeff. When Barbar tried to respond, he realized that he couldn't. The lightning shock must have caused him to be unable to speak. This made him quite upset and angry, but he still tried his best to explain with gestures what had happened. Jeff seemed to understand what he meant, and Jeff explained his problems to Barbar. Jeff was getting old and weak, so was unable to do much physical activities, so he asked Barbar for his assistance. Barbar, not being able to speak, just shrugged yes and helped Jeff with all the heavy lifting and physical parts of his jobs. Time seemed to go by extremely quickly on this village for some reason, because in what felt like a few days, they were able to construct almost an entire mini village. With all of Jeff's amazing designs, you could consider him to be the master builder. If only he weren't so weak and old. As time progressed, Barbar ended up helping Jeff create his best creation yet. Together, they created an exosuit for Jeff that they called the Battle.
Oh, so sorry about that, guys. It's just an alarm.
Battle machine. The exosuit gave Jeff more strength and also had a feature where he could use lightning to give him more energy. Then once he got out of the suit, the lightning's energy would be inside of him, and he could continue building all on his own. So since the master builder could now support himself, Barbar thought it would be time to head back to his village. What felt like a few weeks to Barbar was in reality actually 4 years. But before Barbar could leave, the master builder had a surprise for him. The master builder had built a statue of Barbar as a way to say thank you for all his help. Barbar, who still couldn't speak, smiled and then ran into the water. He ran all the way to his village, but when he got there, he saw something that he's never seen before. He saw the biggest barbarian he'd ever seen in his life, and it looked like his long-lost friend, Ian. Barbar tried to go say hi to him, but apparently Ian was a very popular guy. So Barbar pushed himself through the crowd, and once he got to the front, he tried to speak. But of course, he still couldn't from the lightning. So instead, what came out was a little squeal. Everyone started laughing at him. So Barbar felt sad and went to go sit down by the beach. The wizard and Hog Rider felt bad for him, so they went over to try and keep him company. While they were just sitting there, the Hog Rider asked,
"Hey guys, you ever wonder what's across the water?"
I wonder how we'd get over there.
The barbarian already knew what was out there and really wanted to tell them, but couldn't because he was now mute. So instead, he ran off into the ocean, hoping that they would follow him. He ran all the way to the village and never looked back. The wizard and Hog Rider decided to take a boat there instead. By the time Barbar got to the island, the wizard and Hog Rider had already beat him there. Except when Barbar found them, he saw that they turned into elixir and dark elixir. Barbar was furious that the only troops that were being nice to him had died. He had a quick rage where he started smashing things. He ran into a tree and smashed it to pieces. After about 4 seconds, his rage died down, and he picked up a stick that he broke from the tree, which he later decided to turn into an axe to replace his sword. Barbar ended up deciding to stay with the Master Builder, since everyone back home was laughing at him. So for a little bit, it was just Barbar and the Master Builder on the island. Until one day, an invisible archer showed up. She was a pretty sneaky archer, and curious where she came from, she told them her story.
Well, guys, that was that one. And so after that one, I'm just gonna put this one so you guys can see it. Little mini story. Fired. Week 5.
Hey guys, so this week marks the second week that our builder had left us, and since then the barbarian has taken over as the temporary builder. But now his week is up and it's time for the giant to take over. So here's my quick story on why the barbarian got fired from being builder, and why the giant is taking over. I hope you enjoy, and please note that this is not created by and or endorsed by Supercell, and is simply a fan-made story to explain these events. A week ago, our builder left. The barbarian picked up the builder's hat and hammer and thought to himself that he was destined to be the next builder. Sadly though, he did not live up to his dreams, because after a week on the job, he was fired. Everyone appreciated all of his work and efforts in trying to help, but they didn't like his technique and how he built things. It looked really unorthodox, and people were scared that he was going to hurt someone with his sword, especially our heroes. While the barbarian was upgrading them, he nearly whacked them with the sword on multiple occasions. Now that the heroes are done being upgraded, they decided to fire the barbarian and take away his builder hat. Although the village did still need a builder, so they had to think who would make the best builder. They needed someone that was strong enough and capable of building these big buildings. So after interviewing each troop, they decided to hire the giants as the next builder. He was big and strong, plus he didn't need a hammer, since he could punch as hard as a hammer. Plus he had a lot of spare time since most players don't use him too much in battles. But the real convincing point was that the giant also promised to defend the village when they are on defense. He said if anyone destroys my tiny little shack, Giant will smash them. And since the barbarian was now fired, his friends from Clash Royale went back to the arena. Of course the barbarian was upset by this, but the royals did write him a very formal letter relieving him of his position.
Dear barbarian, congratulations that myself and our queen have decided to relieve you to your position. We felt that you were a public threat running around with your sword and almost killing us. Also, half the time we couldn't tell if you were trying to build something or destroying it. We feel that you are more valuable elsewhere, perhaps on the battlefield on the front lines. Or in the defending clan castle. Or just sitting in the army camp. Basically anywhere that's for away from building anything. We do I don't know what that says anyway. All the work you've done since the builder left, so to compensate you for your time. Ooh, that's a lot. We have sent a gift basket to your barracks full of yellow hair dye, a full musketeer, grooming kit, and a knife sharpener. Some defensive flaws, please use it. A shirt and a dictionary so you can learn to speak English. Once again, we thank you for your time and best of luck in your future endeavors. Yours truly. Uh-oh. Barbarian King. Barbarian responded with roaring. Then ran off into the ocean. Thanks for watching. Well, that was all, guys. It's finished. Thank you for watching this video, and thank you for, and I hope you like and subscribe to my channel, and bye everyone.